Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. My name is Mina Crichton. Today is the 10th of September 2025 and I'm going to be updating everyone. I'm sure everyone's waiting for my next video clip in regards to my court case on the 8th of September 2025. So today I will be doing the usual, starting off with an introduction, and then I'll go on to the topic in regards to my court case. Okay, obviously I'm dealing with a shutout, lockout individual fighting for her liberty. So this is when a person gets to that point in the court system, that's a lockout situation, fighting for their liberty. That's a very serious criminal case. Okay, you could be locked out while you're working too, so it's just a matter of knowing the signs. So my case, I can definitely prove that is the case with my case. This means that people already know about me. So unfortunately, that's where the sabotaging and every single legislation that exists to protect a human being has been broken in my case. But after my research of how the court case is actually, how the courts in relation to the laws, it's actually done spiritually, like just with my own research of how the laws even came about. So we're dealing with good faith and bad faith. Obviously, good faith means honesty, integrity, and then bad faith means corruption. And spiritually speaking, it means obviously integrity, and then it's versus the flesh. Basically, spiritually, making good decisions and good judgments versus comparison to carnality, I guess. It's the best way to explain it. So the evidence in my personal profile and upon myself as an individual are being used for an illegal scientific experiment. That's quite clear, meaning the evidence in my personal property, which is my profile, and everything to do about me, an illusion of corruption has been created by people that are biased and prejudiced. Why? Because they are monitoring people without their consent, and it is organized crime. I guess the best way to describe what monitoring and surveillance mean, I recommend watch this program. This is about the best one to kind of explain how the technology is monitoring and surveillancing people and people who are being targeted, or even when you're working for the government. Obviously, everything is surveillanced. The difference is that you don't know who's watching you, meaning anyone who's watching you and spying on you can easily target you while you're working for your employer. This is what happened to me while I was working for my employer. I knew it at that point in time, and it was basically me discerning. I was able to discern, no, that's not right. And because of my experience, I'm not the type of person that's easily you're talking about my free will and whoever is trying to force their free will on my free will. So that's what you're up against when you're being monitored and surveillance by people monitoring you and trying to force their beliefs or trying to stop you from going forward, or blocking people for the wrong reasons. It is corruption, it is illegal, and unless the person has committed a very serious crime and they had to go, in jail for something, that's about the only time. But as far as I know, we have a freedom of choice, we have the freedom of our liberty. But unfortunately, what they've done to me, they've taken my freedom away, and then they've used me for a pecuniary advantage historically. Okay, Definitely espionage has been used upon me historically, so I've been a targeted victim for a very long time, even when I was working for my government, and that's quite evidential, okay, and in my profile, and that's why I'm going back to the protected disclosure. I'm glad that I did what I did at that point of time, and that's quite evidential that somebody had been globally targeting me. So with everything that's happened to me within my environment, it's a matter of the professional people finding out who it is. Okay, but there's a consistency of patterns. There's a consistency of people stealing. There's a consistency of pinning a individual down while other people use myself as a product or an app. So in the legal terminology, we're talking about bona fide. Okay, that means good faith or bad faith, or it's in regards to evidence, whether it is without deception or fraud. Okay, so either the statements people make to the court or to the judge, either the statements is true or they're false. So quite clearly, what's happened to me, they have definitely recorded me, studied me, pinned me down, and anything positive that I say or do or is actually entitled to, it's been interfered, and the people that are in my space are actually destroying. Okay, I'm glued to the people that are destroying. It's a criminal case. There's only one alliance. There's a good alliance or a bad alliance. So I've always had the negative people glued to me. This is linked to, well, the starting point was at Church of Christ, and then when I was working for my employer, and it's so easy for me now to undo, okay? But these people, we're talking about hate alliance, and they are destroying anything positive, and then they're stealing it for themselves, okay? And this is what they're actually doing. They're destroying a person's liberty. Basically, their intention and their motive and intention is to murder the person. At the end is to actually eliminate them. And I've actually had people in my space letting me know they're going to kill me. This is involving my medical records. And yeah, that's how confident these people are. But that's a very serious violent offences. But they're only confident because of the surveillance and the power that they think they have over the individuals, and, you know, obviously the surveillance and the misuse of devices. So they're freely abusing somebody and stealing, thinking that it's not going to backfire. Okay, that movie I was just showing you guys, I recommend you guys to watch. I chose that movie because there's a good example that movie to prove, like, there's a part there where the Indians, the Indian guy ended up stealing that guy's food voucher. That's a good example of what they've done to me. When people like myself has been monitored, and then all the public are involved, the public are actually secretly stealing because they know they're going to kill me. So who's liable for that if I don't make it? It is the government. That is why I've been denouncing what I've been denouncing, because that's really serious. Okay, so, and that's another reason why I can't go forward, because they've coded me and then linking to my court case, and then they do all their secret whatever they want to call it without a legal search warrant. Okay, no legal search warrant, no coming and knocking on my door, you know, that I've done something wrong. These people are monitoring, they're listening, recording, and then they're stealing. Okay, that's quite clear. So this is what they're doing, okay? I'm apparently the robot, but they're stealing my energy, they're stealing my resources, they're stealing everything about me with the intention of not getting caught. But that movie that I just recommended on this video clip, basically that's the best way for me to describe what does animation mean, what animate or inanimate means. So now I can actually confirm in my profile that's exactly what happened while I was working for my employer. While I was working in a prominent job in a very, no, a very prominent job and position, working as a court deputy registrar, but this was going on in the office. And now I can explain that with everything they've stolen, and they're deleting stuff in between. They're deleting evidence. They know that everything I'm writing in words, they're stealing it and they're destroying it and doing the opposite. And their intent is to keep somebody pinned down, and that's the only way that they've been able to get away with it for so long. So basically, I've had to make decisions in the moment that is best for me for every single circumstances historically. Okay, so anything good that I have achieved, or something that's come my way that's meant to be my blessing, the people that I'm glued to are stealing. Okay, so there are a bunch of thieves. Okay, that's what they are. They're thieves. They want to call it scientific experiment. I don't care what they want to call it, but they are thieves. Secret societies, want to be superior over innocent civilians, other people's honest work. And they want to make it for themselves. Okay, so I'm really furious with all the evidence I've gone through, things I've gone through personally. So we're dealing with good faith or bad faith when it goes to the courts. And but my case now, every single body corporate involved, including the government, can all be charged for very serious criminal charges after the fact. And I was the case on Monday. Well, it was appalling, but I know I did well. The judge told me I did well, but I will go over that soon. Okay, so I'm dealing with a sadistic, evil spirit, okay? And I have to say, the cultures are taking turns, but their intent is evil, okay? I'm the competitor. They're glued to me, and they're stealing. I can feel it. They're micromanaging me. They're using different people every time, but their motive and intent is not for me. Okay, so I'm the victim of this, and that's quite clear. And over the years, they've tried to make out that I'm mentally retarded. Obviously, I'm not. I'm actually very competent. I'm actually very intelligent, but they've discriminated a person for the purpose to steal, to cover up, and also just owns things that they don't even own. Okay, it's illegal to do illegal scientific experiment on any human being without their consent. So it is a very serious criminal case, but spiritually speaking, from a victim's point of view, it's this kind of a spirit. Okay, everybody's in it for the kill, for the money. It's free money. But that movie, what that Indian guy did, is exactly what everyone in my space out in public are doing. They're secretly stealing my work, my data for themselves. And that also, over the years, is evidence of tax invasion. They've stolen my identity and stolen tax that belongs to somebody else and giving it to somebody else. That's what they've used me for. And I actually mentioned that to the judge. Okay, so this is what they've been doing to me while I was working for my employer, the Ministry of Justice. Okay, so they've glued to me. I'm the competition. So they've got the upper hand because they've been able to study me. So take away the misuse of devices and their job situation. They have nothing. They couldn't even do that to me. But their competition was to eliminate me and to derailroad me and destroy my reputation by using relationship scams. Just a side note, the way I know how criminal cases work, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a public member, whether you are a family member, whether you are the Prime Minister, whether you are a judge, whether you are a police officer, if that can be proven in the court of law that you are part of a conspiracy, you will be charged. That's how it works. So basically, it's victims being micromanaged by other human beings. Yes, they're using their jobs, the bus drivers, the train, they're already in my space wherever I go. When I was driving a lot, going to work, they're using their cars, they're basically glued. That's how serious it is. They're using their cars and the buses, and they're glued. You can sense that they're tailing you. You can sense it. Okay, so if you take everything I say, because I've experienced it, and before I actually lost my private life, even though I was private, I never had the stalking and the stalking by people using their car problem before, until I realized that my privacy was completely gone, and then people started using their cars and walking like zombies in my space. That is a dangerous environment. That means you are targeted, and I have found people have lied. Okay, I'm even talking about when you go to the supermarket. They're in your space. You can feel it, but that's a sign you're targeted. And you'll find that people will take the opportunity to deceive, to lie, and they speak kindly, but their motive and intent is not for you. So these people are actually quite serious, because you don't know whose motive and intent or plans and plots or schemes they are carrying, but they are not for you. So I have experienced that. And I've, it's horrific at times, but I'm used to it. But they are lying. And yeah, so basically, it's all about making the right decisions in your space. So if you're working, it could be a cleaner, okay? Could be even somebody, your work colleagues are, they're not for you, but, they'll come and make these suggestions and sow seeds of discord to put thoughts in your mind. And these are the things that I've gone through, influencing the mind. They've used the technologies to do that, to influence the mind of people. So over the years, it's quite clear that people have used different states, the underworld, whatever you want to call it. After they study people, they're using the technology to create deception and to influence people's mind. They know who they're talking about, so they code and they talk indirectly, and I've actually been denouncing that, and I will keep denouncing that, because that's illegal, that's an insult, that is a coward method, because I know that why they're doing what they're doing is they're actually inciting to their people globally or publicly, and then their people are in your space, whether they're using their job or they've got their foot in the door in your home. And then they leave out objects or threats. Don't ignore it. I actually mentioned that to the judge of my work environment, how bad it was, going back to when I put in the protected disclosure. I actually did pretty well, considering with everything I've gone through, but I'll talk more about that soon. Okay, guys, so I'm talking about when people put in their cars, use the civil system. In this case, I have been the plaintiff, and we're talking about the plaintiff versus the defendant. So why is my case taken so long for the way it has? It is because I've worked for the government, and to them I'm called a whistleblower, okay? But a whistleblower is not a person who's committing corruption. A whistleblower is a person who is actually exposing corruption, who is a person of integrity standing against what is wrong. Okay, so what happened while I was working for my employer? I think the starting point really of things getting worse for me was going back to 2010 when I did put in my complaints with the IPCA and all the other people in my occupation at that time, which was the Ministry of Justice, Public Service Association, the union, and the New Zealand Police. They all got the same documentations, but now I can prove that those documentations had evidence of, sorry, let me just get it. Okay, those documentations that I talking about the protected disclosure in court on the 8th, definitely had internal evidence of global secret societies invading my space, okay? So you're talking about acts of terrorism, okay, in the office. Okay, I was also a PSA delegate. And like I said, I know my stuff, I know my laws, and I was representing a lot of stuff. There were staff complaining about someone listening to their private conversation, because that's illegal, okay? I don't know why people do what they do, but I knew that it's illegal to listen to somebody's, staff, to listen to staff's private conversation. So there were complaints about that in the protected disclosure. There was credible threats. There was clear evidence of people bullying one person. You can tell by the way the emails were. They were the staff at that point in time were ganging up on me, and that could be proven just by the emails. And that's exactly what they're doing. This kind of a bullying. They're secretly bullying victims and attacking them in work and exploiting them. Okay, they're taking away the person's privacy. So, but you can just tell by reading the emails that I was, there were people within those emails that didn't like me. Okay, and then they started complaining about every single thing I did. So we're talking about a negative force, but you can just tell, common sense, that the environment I was in was not good. There was emails there of, people listening, complaining about, people listening to their conversation, common sense, an employee's right, they're entitled to privacy, but they were monitoring and listening to our conversation, obviously, and then they've got the cameras on, watching us going in and out around the building. So that movie that I just recommended on this clip is good to actually, for those that don't know what it's like being surveillance, but that movie basically shows how easy it is to steal, how easy it is for them to use somebody else to animate, take over someone's personal life, and then the invasion can actually go to their private life in their home or whatever they're doing, and then end up, under serious duress situation, fighting for their liberty and their life. Okay, so that's why I chose that. But there was clear evidence of acts of terrorism in those complaints I gave to IPCA. Okay, I was not happy when I went to court on Monday, because with everything I've gone through, I always like to go prepared, because I know that they're stealing, they're cheating, and they're doing the opposite. They are abusing me, they are sabotaging me, they are tormenting me, and their motive and intent is to steal and sabotage and destroy anything good. Okay, so the intimacy that I've gone through is absolutely illegal. Okay, they're glued, they're doing the opposite, they're doing their sound effects, and this is consistent when I go to public. But I did make it clear to the judge. I walk the judge through the laws that my case actually falls in, and linking to the civil, the reasons why we have civil compared to criminal, but it is definitely doesn't even belong in civil, and that the civil situation, the civil jurisdiction is the means of the corporate bodies being sued for very serious criminal offences like myself. But on that day I went to court. Just one moment. Okay, here it is. I went to court. It's quite weird really, because there have been other court hearings. The courts didn't even put the name of the judge, but this time is, I'd say, probably the first time they've put the name of the judge. So the secret societies involving me have secretly, they've tried to keep everything private. That's good for them, but not good for me, because they're abusing me, and I can't go forward and I can't advance because they're stealing. Okay. But this here is what was on the board, and I took a photo of it. And I've got myself, and then I've got New Zealand Police versus K. Ferris. So I've been having issues with the case officer. Okay, it's shocking. It's really shocking. She didn't end up taking the court case either. So there was two other people in the hearing who took the court case as a court deputy, registrar, a guy and a female. My sister came along as a witness, but what's happened to me is actually really serious, okay? These people are just using me, and then they're either getting rid of people in my environment who are a witness to me. Okay, that's a serious conspiracy. But anyway, this is the judge. If you can see it. Okay, it says here, before Judge Gillett. Okay, so it was in courtroom 9. But the case they've got New Zealand Police here, but the case is actually against independent police conduct. New Zealand Police has already been dealt with. And they've put this female, Karen Ferris, if you've watched the other video clip, it's quite clear that those doing the administration, or the laws, or the legal administration of the courts, are doing their own thing. It is very clear they have locked me out. Okay, that is all in the evidence of the way they have treated me and trying to confuse me. I'm going by, according to the judge's direction. But these people are doing their own thing. I complained, and it's difficult because the people that the case is against, it's straight to them, and they're all operating secretly behind the scene. But that is my predicament. Okay, if you watched the last video clip, I had issues addressing who is the counsel, okay? I had put in a memorandum to the courts in regards to confirm who is the actual counsel, because Karen Ferris had not actually, that she had not withdrawn from her case. But the secret societies are doing their own thing. They're using their job, and then they expect people to abide just because they're sending out emails. Okay? Common sense says only a fool will actually just go along with what everybody says, because, especially with what I've gone through, their motive and intent spiritually, I can tell, is not for me. But so there was a bit of a correspondence in regards to that, where I've had to let the courts know that the courts have not actually confirmed whether Karen Ferris is actually the actual barrister or Crown Barrister for this case. And this person here, this case officer here, they call her Patty. She sent out an email on the 25th of August and told me that I did not file this document. I did not respond to the Judge Sussex document on this date. I mean, this is really serious, guys. I'm not joking, okay? And what I'm up against, I know I'm doing what's right, and they do something opposite, which is a negative thing. They're doing the opposite of what positive thing that I'm doing, okay? That's an abuse too, by the way. It's intentional, so. So she sent this out on the 26th of August, and she's got Karen Ferris's name up, even though she knows very well that this other guy had come on board, Sean Barrister. He's the new one. I'll go over that in a minute, claiming, he's the new barrister, but I've been following the rules and the regulations of the courts. So this confirms everything that I'm saying, that because this person has not actually withdrawn, she's actually abandoned the case. And then the registrar obviously has sided on them, because that's what it looks like, and sent this out to me to make it look like that I haven't complied to the Judge Sussex direction. Okay, so she would have probably, by the looks of it, she gave this information to the new judge. Okay, and just by I don't know how to explain the force of what these people are doing, but it's really serious. It's like they've made a decision, and they're forcing it's like saying, this is what's going to happen. You don't have a choice. That's what they're telling me. And I'm not taking it because that's wrong, because I know that I have already, I'll go over the evidence anyway. But this here, she sent out on the 25th. Okay, come back to that. Okay, here. This here was a conversation I had with, you see how there's all these, if you notice that some of my emails, all the staff are all, like, I've had to contact all these staff because that case officer she wasn't answering my phone, she was hanging up on me, but she's not the only one. Everyone else has done that in my private space. Okay, they are intentionally trying to kill me. Okay, it's actually not funny, but that's what they've done to me historically. So notice how I have sent this email to everyone. I sent it to even this guy here. He's apparently the team leader, and she is too. But all I'm doing is these people, I know she is part of all the other cases I've had, so I'm just dealing with the people involved with all the other cases historically. So I'm dealing, it's like I'm communicating with the opposing allies anyway. But this here is just to confirm, because they sent out an email, and then there's a big list of everything about, because I was like going by the court rules that, that Counsel Karras has not actually withdrawn, and then this Counsel Sean, he was the one that was in the court on the 8th of September, on Monday. He's the actual barrister that was actually in court. So the information they actually put out on the board is incorrect. Okay. The court registrar had made a decision. They were trying to lean onto the New Zealand police evidence so that this one, they were hoping that this one will go smoothly. But before I go on, this here, the council sent out this rule that gives him the authority to take over because the defendant went home. But I covered all those points that the courts had not actually confirmed that he is a lawyer, because according to the laws, the courts actually have to consent for Karen to actually leave, the first lawyer, and then the court must also confirm this new lawyer as the lawyer on record. Okay, I know I actually told one of the guys that if the senior judges knew that these lawyers were doing their own thing, they'd be in trouble. Okay, so I'm one of these people. I abide to the laws according to the court registry rules and regulation, because that is why we have a court system, and that's to make sure that people don't do their own thing, and it also keeps people accountable to the laws and stay within confinements of the laws, because that is what they will be audited with. That's what they get defaulted with. They can actually get disbarred with serious cases like mine. Okay, they can, just because you have a law degree, just because you're in a prominent job, a competent judge don't care about stuff like that. Okay, they don't care, and this is why they don't like the old school people. In fact, I know when I was working as a court registrar, lawyers would go shopping for which judge to have their case in, because they just know the tough judges from the new judges, and they prefer to use the new judges because they know that the new judges aren't as experienced as the experienced judges. Like, they wouldn't be able to get away with little things like I have picked up. They would not be able to get away with that in a court case if they had to go. If their case went before a old school judge like me, they know. And so I know that, when I was a court taker, lawyers, okay, go shopping to see which judge to put their case in. And I feel they're doing that the same with what they've done to me, and they're choosing, the registrars, or they're not only mix matching and using different people all the time for the purpose to confuse and ruin my profile and case, and then trying to make out I'm mentally impaired. Obviously I'm not, but that is what they're doing. They're trading in influence. So this council sent this rule, and yes, he's right. But anyway, I walked the judge through that in the courts on Monday the 8th. I might have to do 2 videos on this because I'm going to disclose everything on publicly, because this is all evidence, and for the sake of public welfare, and for those who are actually investigating my case and watching over me. Okay, so the counsellor that was actually there on Monday was actually Sean McCasker. Okay, so he'd actually put in a second application, but they have, before I carry on, my court case is actually linked to the relationship scams. Okay, I've discussed this with Henry. He's like, he doesn't see everything where I'm coming from, but that is what I'm up against. Okay, so I'm up on an alliance linking to relationship scams, and this is what I'm up against, and it's definitely a war. Okay, they're warring against me and Henry's relationship, and he's not actually with anyone else, but this is the new age system and linking to the courts. Okay, but my case is so bad. Okay, it's a case of a slave case, and I've walk the judge through all that, and I know that I got her on my side, because the whole idea about the courts is convincing the judge of the truth, and I know I did it. But anyway, but then saying we're talking about the unlawful strikes are coming because they are actually taking my case to the government. Like, that's why I didn't realize that's what they were actually doing until I actually realized for real that's exactly what they're doing. And then I started denouncing what they're doing, because they were putting my life at risk. But it also explains my environment, and why people were doing what they're doing is because my government, they'd used me globally for a game. So there's clear evidence of that. And so obviously that's why they're cheating, because they don't want me to live, or they actually want me to die, okay? And that I mentioned that. I told the judge that, my life is in a crisis, and I just walked her through, and I basically told her that they will murder me if they don't intervene, okay? So because of the evidence clearly articulates that. And what I find cowardice about it is that they have to have everyone help them get rid of one person, thinking that it's not going to backfire. Okay, that's wrong. But Sean McCusker was the one that actually turned up, and the evidence clearly showed that this female sided with them. Their intention was not to allow me to go through the evidence, to even have my interlocutory application summary judgment to enter a judgment of liability. So from my point of view, I felt their motive and intent was to steal again, okay, keeping in mind that my case is worth a lot of money, and they want to give it to somebody else. And this is why we've got all these people thinking she's competition, and this is what the public are doing. They're actually breaking laws. They're criminally harassing people. They're stalking, gluing themselves to people's car and following them. And even the bus drivers are doing it. I can feel it. They're gluing. And then when I go on the bus, they're in the bus. Somebody is premeditating the environment. That's a very serious situation for anybody. But that is what I'm going through, linking to the court cases, linking to the government, linking to the social media platform. So since I've been going social media platform, they've stopped. They've realised, oh my gosh, this is real, this is true. But these people are gluing themselves to people to get a foot in the door. And some of these people are actually gangs. These people are linked to gangs. They want to get their family members, or they want to get somebody get their foot in the door of other decent people. That's what they've used me for. Okay. So this Sean was the Crown was the representative at the hearing on the 8th, okay? I was not happy because I didn't even respond to this guy's application, because I've gone through the proper processes according to the judge's instruction, and Karen didn't turn up on, she didn't put in a statement of defense, which was due on the 10th of July, and then Sean McCusker came on scene. He put in a statement of defense on the 10th of July, and he admits some of the facts on the 10th of July, and that is the document that I did my summary judgment to enter a judgment of liability on that document. But then he sent this out, and then I sent them I sent the courts an email to let them know that I won't be responding to this, because one, the courts have not confirmed him as the barrister taking over because Karen Ferris had not withdrawn legally. And two, this here wasn't even according to the judge's schedule from my point of view as a plaintiff. Okay, so they're doing their own thing quite clearly, doing their own thing. That's illegal. So it's quite clear that the courts have sided with this guy. So the courts had actually put on their list, and the judge, when the judge came out, her impression was the case was going to be about to strike out, and they said that the application was for the Crown to strike out my whole case. So you can see they already did the trickery, the cheating. They're in my space here. They're stealing my work. Doesn't matter which home I go to. They've got their cameras, surveillance on me, and then they're sabotaging. And they think it's funny. And then they walk in my space. And I just know. I just know that the negative energy, but they are definitely trying to destroy and help the Crown win. So it's quite a clear case of criminal case anyway, because there's nothing in criminal that's going to, what I'm saying is what these people, there's criminal charges there anyway. Okay, now my plans linking with Henry Cavill obviously knows that they're reading both him and I's texts, okay? And so he knows my situation, I know my situation, but the police and those in government, whoever's behind it, they are reading my texts, okay? The monitoring and the texting, since I work for the Ministry of Justice, that is how they're able to take down anybody in your private life, and car accidents happen. That's exactly what they're doing. So the other issue that we had with this court case was I was actually going to pay for the fees myself. So what these people are doing, they're interfering in my financial everything. They have access to my bank accounts. They're reading everything. They're taking my receipts over the counter. They're counting what I'm spending. They want to keep me financially poor. But I can actually prove to the court of laws that they've literally did that to me historically, taken me down financially. Okay, it's quite clear that I'm being micromanaged by people who hold my private information, like all my bank accounts, even before I met Henry. Okay, and so Henry and I back then had plans. He was gonna he was trying several times to send money to me, but the banks blocked it. Okay, and then I realized that it was all linking to the government because they were inciting lookalikes. They had served him. So I know I've mentioned that he got robbed and stuff like that. So I think everyone gets the picture of what kind of organised crime syndicates we're up against. But they're trying to stop any communication or stopping either of us advancing financially. That's quite clear. But I was actually going to pay for the fees myself. But they sabotaged everything, obviously, and then I had to move out. And so I thought I will use the waiver fee because I'm entitled to. So I've noticed that this is what they're doing, the waiver fee application. It's actually going to somebody and they're making decisions to decline it, even though I know I'm entitled to it. Okay, so it's a criminal case. And so this here was in regards to the interlocutory hearing date, but it didn't end up. Got confirmation that there was no fee. And so that's what happened on that date. but I actually, the courts knew very well that it was my case. But yeah, just in the between, they'd made up their mind. No, this is what's going to happen, and no, you're not. Your interlocutory application's not going to take place. They don't want it to happen. This is all in the evidence of how they were serving me, meaning a group of people were making decisions over somebody's liberty, and that is why they're doing what they're doing. Okay, I even put in a synopsis, a plaintiff synopsis for the hearing. Okay. But this is the kind of thing that I've been going through with all the other court cases. But they're warring over relationship scams. So I believe that's why Echo was used and all the other women in my space were used. There's a clear pattern of using someone for relationship scam and linking to the government. And it's also for the court cases because they know I'm pretty experienced. But they're actually stealing. Okay, they're sabotaging and stealing. Okay, so the new judge did not even get this. When I ran in there, I can tell straight away the new judge did not get anything. Okay, because not only that, they'd made application. The courts had made a decision to give the Crown the case, meaning he went first, and the case was actually going to be to close my case. So of course I wasn't happy because I knew they were cheating. When I heard that and what I read and what they told me, and I was like, okay, can't get mad, stay calm. But that's what they're doing. I'm doing everything right, and they're changing the system. It's like, no, this is what's going to happen, but they're breaking the laws. So I sent this here, the memorandum response to council's memorandum, as to change the representation for address and others and all his application, which was dated the 10th of July. And this was sent to this person here, and the courts did not respond. Okay. And because I had put in my interlocutory application in regards to this application. Okay, so I'd actually put in a waiver fee form. And like I said, they got different people using a waiver fee. They've tried to confuse me using different things all the time. And it's been so frustrating for me, but I've just had to go with it because what else could I do? But yeah, the administration, she's just terrible. It's just terrible. And it's quite obvious that, I'm the chosen party, that they are going, that everyone is helping, okay? And they're inciting and coding. What was this one about? Okay, this here was in regards to the interlocutory application, my summary judgment. I'd already sent this female the actual laws that says that an interlocutory to enter a summary judgment is for free because of the actual summary judgment, the reason why it's entered. Okay, so everything I do is money. Okay, so the system, those who want to be superior over my case or my situation, they're not for me because they know they don't care if I'm the victim or what. That's quite proven. Okay, they don't care about, because to them I'm the opposing ally, and but they're actually secretly stealing off somebody else's entitlement. Okay, and so that's why they're causing havoc. Okay, but they're breaking the laws. But there is no fees. I already sent that to the court with proof where the law clearly says that. But they're using no relationship scam. The game involves relationship scam. They want whoever the woman is that they've chosen for Henry, and they're letting everyone know that's his new girlfriend, which is a lie. Okay, he doesn't know anything about it, but it's a lie. But it's all part of the illusion to steal without getting caught. It's a conspiracy. So when Counsel Sean McCusker sent the second application, I responded to her that I won't be, doing another application to a second application, because some of these applications takes weeks, months, and a lot of concentration. And I'm not going to do. I felt no. One, because the court, the penalty, as far as the courts are concerned and the lawyers, is that he didn't. He's not been acknowledged by the court officially that he is the counsel. Two, and that when I say court, I'm talking about a judge. A case like this, a judge has to make the direction, not a registrar. Okay, so I'm being bullied by the court registrars. The court registrars are blocking me. Okay, I'm being bullied by them. They're working together, but they're breaking the law. So the cases like mine, the judge has to actually confirm everything, not the registrar. Okay, so keep in mind, these registrars, they have families too. They are gang related. They probably even have families who are linked to people in my court cases who are criminals or defendants in my case. So that's what they've done to me. They've dug up my past, and then they've put everybody that is, that may, they've committed crimes against me or somebody in their family. That is what they're doing, and that's why they're all secretly abusing me and attacking me, because they've got the support of people in government that supports them, and they know that they will block me. They will not, to protect their jobs. And that's why I've had to go public. And that is why they're breaking the laws left, right and centre. So Sean sent this out on this date, and I responded and let the courts know that I wasn't going to respond to his application. I wasn't going to spend another couple of hours and hours of work responding to this application when the judge had not confirmed him being the court taker or being the prosecutor. But in saying that, in between, I'd actually sent memos to Judge Sussex to actually, I wanted the transcript, because I know I won that case. Okay, the case itself, it's contempt of court, it's perjury has committed, and Judge Sussex refused. I even asked the court to let me know in advance who is the judge, so I can make sure the new judge gets all this information. And I wanted to recommend the judge to get the court, the transcript of New Zealand Police, because the police, the alliance in favour of the New Zealand Police had obviously created evidence, or all have made the decision, that the hearing was going to go in favour of IPCA, and that is what the hearing ended up being set for. It was actually set out to strike out my complaints, like to strike out my file, okay, without any evidence, and only using case references as support versus my case. Okay, so when this new judge, when she came in, that was her impression, and that was my impression, and I wasn't happy about it. Okay, so I'd actually sent in my affidavit, affidavit in reference for the plaintiff's interlocutory. The judge didn't even have that. Okay, I could tell that straight away. The application was to actually strike out the court hearing. They changed it to strike out. They'd ignore everything in regards to my case. But I know they're not just ignoring it. They're just stealing my work. That's what everyone is doing. They're just stealing my work for themselves. And unfortunately, the government is not even allowed to do that. okay? Unless the person consents to them doing what they're doing to me, it's a criminal case, a very serious criminal case. So here, this is the evidence on email when I filed my documents in regards to the plaintiff's interlocutory application on notice to enter a summary judgment of liability. The courts wouldn't even, having problems where the registrars won't sign the interlocutory application. The very reason why they won't sign it is because they don't want the judge to actually make an order. Okay, that's why. So they're actually misleading me. They're setting me up to fail. They're conspiring to steal everything about me without my consent. They're taking advantage of a vulnerable person who's actually fighting for their liberty. And this has been going on, the court cases have been going on for over 9 years. So it's like, they're just using me for illegal, everything what they're doing is illegal. Okay, I'm going to end it there because this has gone on a bit longer than expected, but I'll do another video clip and go over the what actually happened on the day.